Any minute, Secretary of State Tony Blinken and Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas are scheduled to hold a joint press conference in Panama with their counterparts in that country. It comes as the Biden administration aims to address what it calls irregular migration from Central America. It also comes, as NBC News reports exclusively, the Biden administration faces a budget shortfall when that border COVID ban, Title 42, lifts next month. Title 42 is a Trump-era rule that has blocked more than 1.7 million border crossings since March 2020 in name of preventing the spread of COVID. Joining me now is Angelica Salas, Executive Director of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, and Alan Orr, Immigration Attorney and President of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Thank you for being with me, Angelica. About 170,000 people have been waiting in camps, makeshift camps on the Mexican side of the border, just the worst living conditions. The mayor of McAllen in the Rio Grande Valley warned that ending Title 42 will be a logistical nightmare. What kind of groundwork does the U.S. need to be doing to prepare for the end of Title 42?
Well, first, I just want to remind everybody that the United States has been receiving asylum seekers throughout its history. And that prior to Title 42, a lot of these individuals would have been able to present themselves at the border. They would have been interviewed for credible fear, and then they would be allowed to come in. This whole crisis that they're discussing is something of their own making from the administration, from the prior administration, the Trump administration, and now the Biden administration. We have the capacity to manage the flow of human beings who are vulnerable, who are being persecuted, and who need refuge in this country. So at this moment in time, what we should be talking about is how do we support the NGOs that are at the border regions in order for there to be a flow of individuals, families, children who need to be inside the United States in order to protect their lives. This is what we should be doing. This is what we should have been doing for a very long time. Title 42 actually sealed off the border in order for really, from our perspective, just to seal it off. But what has happened is we put vulnerable human beings in more vulnerable and dangerous conditions in the Mexican region. We need to lift Title 42, allow for individuals to come into the United States, and then have the community support as we have done in the past, support asylum seekers who just need a chance at life.
Angelica, and we were seeing there Secretary Blinken along with Secretary Mayorkas in Panama on this joint news conference they're holding as we speak. But I'm just wondering, Angelica, there are a lot of people who may say, are you asking for the border to just be completely open and let everyone in? However, you know, there is history to look at, and there is precedent, and there is also humanitarian considerations, Angelica.
No, well, first and foremost, we have been doing this for decades upon decades in this country, which is that there is a managed border. Individuals who seek asylum have the right, the legal right to present themselves at the border, make their case, and then there is a decision as to whether or not they're going to be able to come in. This is what we have been doing. Now to have a pretense that we can't open up the ability for individuals who are seeking refuge in our country to come in because we're afraid of what is going to happen makes absolutely no moral sense. It has no common sense in it. And so I think what we're just asking is return the United States' ability to allow asylum seekers to seek refuge in this country. That is what is being asked, and to try to exaggerate the demand to anything else is, in my opinion, is just about politics, and it's not about humanity.
And I just want to highlight the extraordinary work that Chirla has been doing for our community and continues to do so. Alan, you tweeted this week, quote, Title 42 is not border control. Can you explain that?
Right, so Title 42 is a healthcare issue. It is not part of the border control platform, nor is it part of the immigration enforcement acts in themselves. So that's why Title 42 and border control don't belong in the same conversation.
And Alan, let's talk a little bit about the people that are being allowed in, the people that are not being allowed in. You know, there are people that are fleeing the most difficult situations you can imagine. I'm thinking of the people in Haiti. I'm thinking of the people in Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, so many countries that are going through such horrendous things, and they're leaving it all, and they're taking that extraordinarily dangerous and difficult journey through Mexico to ask for asylum. And yet, Alan, those petitions aren't even considered.
So,
Alan?
yeah, so sorry. It speaks to the racist enforcement of the policy in itself, that the issue is with Title 42 was exacted against the Black and brown individuals and asylum seekers at the southern port of entry. The southern port wasn't closed. All other classes of visas were processed and allowed in. All the trucks were allowed in. The day processes were allowed in. So this is the reason why Title 42 is a racist policy from 1944 used by Stephen Miller and put forward by this Congress. So rather than Congress looking at the executive branch to say, you need to fix this problem, it's a problem within Congress's wheelhouse. And this reason, what happened to the number, the almost 20,000 Haitians that have been returned to an uncertain country, and the concerns about democracy in the East need to be also those concerns that we have in the West for these countries like, which are pushing individuals to the southern border.
Alan, are there differences in how you are treated, received, or accepted in the U.S. border? Are there differences based on what?
There are various differences. And one of the other things I want to have during this conversation is there's 250 other ports of entry to this United States, and we haven't seen Title 42 used at any of them, only those at the southern border. So if you're able to fly in and you want to overstay your visa or you want to come in and apply for asylum, no issue. It's only the people at the southern port of entry. And now what we see are classes of people who are coming from Europe, arriving at the southern border, are being processed while people who have been waiting there for years are not allowed in. So that is a preference based on nationality that is arbitrary and is very racist in its implication in many ways. And many of the things that the United States stands against, we're now implementing again at our southern border.
Alan Orr and Angelica Salas, thank you so much for being with us. I very much appreciate your voice.